Okay. Hey guys, it's me, Steph. I am coming in hot today. I'm about to share with you guys the story of how I came into my psychic gifts, my abilities, and this is something you guys have been asking me over and over and over to share this story that you know, how did I get here? How did I get from where I was to where I am now? And how did I discover my gifts and all of that? And I've put off telling this story because I was like, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start with telling the story. And so I've just been like, I'll just wait until I know how to do it, which is completely laughable because every single part of this journey has been like me not knowing what I'm doing. So, or like not knowing the plan and just like doing the thing anyway. So I was like, well, okay, like here we go. And so, here I am about to tell you guys. So as I'm going along, if there are any questions that you guys have about this, like just hit them in the comments and I will answer them. So I came into the concrete realization, the concrete knowing, hey Alice, that I was psychically gifted a year ago. So in October of 2018, I went to see a spiritual healer for the first time. And when I was driving there, I just was like, I know she's going to tell me things about myself. Like I knew that. And of course she did. She shared some things about my own gifts, my own abilities, and kind of gave me some ideas of ways that I could better connect and better tap in. But so that was when I like had permission to know what I already knew. Because now that I reflect back on everything, when I look back, I've truly been this way my whole life and had no fucking idea. So at the beginning of last year, I began reading a book. And the book was The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. And it just like connected. She talked just about the energy of the universe. And for me, like connecting to a higher power or a spirituality was like the traditional versions of it I never connected to. And so I always felt like that piece was missing. And so I learned about this. I was like, oh my God, this is the thing. This is the thing I've been looking for. And I started learning about spirit and how to connect to your intuition and how to, just like trust yourself and all of that stuff that I talk about with you guys all of the time. And over the course of last year, I was just like, learning things. And I would wake up in the morning and be like, this looks cool. And I would learn about it. And it's not like I was just like walking around talking to spirit in my head, which I do now all the time. Hey, Amanda. Oh, I see like so many of my clients hopping on. That makes me really happy. So now another thing that shifted things for me is in, I think, September of last year, I started listening to a podcast from, someone who is a spiritual person. And she was sharing, hey Brittany, she was sharing her story about how she has always been gifted, how she discovered these gifts, how she connected to them, what it looked like for her. And there were parts of her story that I was like, oh, I do that. And she would have guests come on and talk about their gifts and things that they experience. And I was like, oh, that doesn't happen to everyone. Like I was just I just like didn't realize that so many of the things that I was experiencing and have been experiencing my whole life were like not normal things. Because, when you just like think that something's normal that everyone else experiences, you just like don't talk about it like it's a big deal because you just think it happens to everyone. And so some of the things now that I have the ability to do that I look back on, for example, I have always had dreams about things and then they happen. Or I have dreams about things that then later I realize were happening in real time with something that was happening in someone else's life. And I'll share about some of those details later. But there were just like things that I started going, oh, well, that happens to me. Like I just know things without knowing why I know them, or I have things that like seemingly drop into my mind, or I'll have like just things happen to me that apparently don't happen to normal people. And I was like, oh, really? And so after I went to my spiritual healer, one of the things that she shared with me is that at that point in time last year, I was really living more in a sense of the like psychic form. And what that means, what my understanding of that is like knowing things and hearing things and kind of taking what comes in and then like sharing or guiding or giving advice kind of based on what I feel or what I know or what I've experienced. And so my healer, Laura, shared with me that what I have the potential to be is a conduit. And so what a conduit is, like even if like, I don't know, in real life with like electrical work and shit, it is a connector. And so that's what I am. That's what I do is I am a conduit. So I connect spirit to the real world. And so it just started by me doing it with myself. I would like get into a meditation, I would connect, all of that stuff. And I would just be like, okay, like spirit group, tell me what I need to know today, or like problems that I was having. And last year was when I was, getting ready to quit my job. And it was like the scariest fucking thing that I've ever done in my whole life. And so I just would connect with my group and be like, what do I need to know today? What do I need to know? And I would just trust whatever came to me, because at that point, I already had all of the evidence to know. Hi, Lindsay. I already had all of the evidence to know that this was real, because things have happened to me my whole entire life. Like I could not even doubt this if I wanted to. And once my healer gave me permission to know this about myself, I started going back to like things that had happened to me in my life that were like, what the fuck? And one of the biggest examples that I remember is, this was within the last probably 3 years. One of my coworkers at the time was pregnant, and she was in the early stages of her pregnancy. I can't remember how far along, but she was pregnant, and she was on holidays at the time. And I believe it was a Tuesday morning. I woke up and I had a dream that I had gone to work, and one of the girls told me that she'd had a miscarriage. And I was like, oh no. I was like, oh geez, like, and it's just a dream. So I never said anything to anyone. And then 2 or 3 days later, it was either the Thursday or the Friday, I can't remember, but I got to work, and one of the girls said to me, like, we just found out from so-and-so that she did have a miscarriage. And I just looked at them and I said, do you know what day it happened? And the girl was like, blah, 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 blah. I think it was on Tuesday. And I was like, oh my God. And I said to her, I was like, I never said anything, because you don't just be like, oh, this was my dream, especially about something like that. But I said to her, I was like, I had a dream on Tuesday morning that happened. And I kind of was like, holy fuck. But I kind of just brushed it off, because I was like, oh, like, I don't know, weird. And of course, since then, I've had that happen many times. And even just the other day, I had a realization. I was looking at my journal from last year, from like this exact time last year. And I saw that I had a dream that my girlfriend Jackie was pregnant. And in the dream, I told her that it was a boy. And oh, funny. Just this past September, she had a baby boy. And she took the pregnancy test on New Year's Eve of last year and found out that she was pregnant. And so like literally the exact time that I was having the dream, like December 15th of last year, it would have been like the moment probably that she exactly got pregnant with her little boy. So it's like I'm having prophecies that I don't even know that I'm having. Like those are the kind of things that happen to me, have been happening to me my whole life. Some of the things that I know about, some of the like prophecies I've had, I probably don't even realize, but there it is. And so when I quit my job, I, at that point, was only connecting with spirit for myself. And I asked one time, I said, am I going to be doing this kind of thing and helping with guidance in this way for other people? Or is this just for me? And spirit said to me, I know, you guys, isn't it crazy? Spirit said to me, you'll be doing this for you for now, but down the road, you will use this to help other people. And I was just kind of like, okay, like at that point, I had so much trust in my own intuition, what spirit was sharing with me, that even when like nothing made sense, I just was like, okay, like whatever. And so in January of this year, so in January of 2019, I went to visit a girlfriend that lives locally here. And I had a knowing before we went there that I was going to try, for the first time ever, to do a reading for her, to like check in with her group and see what that did. So I brought my stuff and she asked me and I did. And that was my first time doing a reading and connecting in that way for someone other than myself. And I shared this and I shared this and I shared this. And, it really connected with her. And she actually had, her grandpa came through, and I kind of told her like what I was seeing as a vision kind of behind my closed eyes. And after the fact, like after I kind of like closed up the reading and sent her spirit group off, there were some things that were like an afterthought to me. I said, yeah, like this is what I saw and this is what I felt. And he was wearing this little green sweater. And she just looks at me and she goes, oh, every time I think of my pop, he's wearing a green sweater. And I was like, oh. And I was like, but also like mind blown, right? Because I had so much trust in myself, but there was always like, oh my God, like, am I just making this shit up? Like, is this just like, I'm just pretending that I think this is something I can do and I'm just like making things up? And so it was like, I would just get like confirmation on things. Oh my God, thanks, Tara. I slowly was getting confirmation on things. Okay, yeah, nothing is just a coincidence, right? And so then I can't remember if this happened just before I did that first reading or just after, but I woke up one morning. And I think this was before I did that reading for my friend locally. I woke up one morning and I was like sinking into my meditation, and I just heard this voice that was like, today, you are going to go on to Instagram Live, like what I'm doing right now. You're going to go on Instagram Live and you are going to like connect to the energy of the collective, the energy of the people that are listening, and you're going to channel a message from us. And I was like, oh my God, what? Like, I've never even done it for another person. And here Spirit's asking me to do it for live, for the collective. I don't even know if I know how to do that, but I was just like, fuck it. Like, okay, like, haven't steered me wrong so far. And I hopped on a live just like I did now. And I was just like, okay, everybody, like, here's what I'm going to do. I've never done this before. Let's just see what happens. And I channeled a message. And then once I was done, I felt called to just ask, okay, does anybody have any questions they want me to ask? I've never done this before, but let me try and see if I can connect to your group and pull out a message for you. And so I just did. I just did it. Even though I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never done this before. I just like leaned into it and trusted. And the messages that came through for those people were, people were like in tears. And keep in mind, these are people that I didn't know like in real life. I just like saw their Instagram handle and just like was like, oh, I'm going to connect to your energy. And I just did. And so am I pulling messages right now in this moment? I don't think so. Or do you mean like for myself, or do you mean am I going to be asking you guys things? I don't think I'm going to get to that because this is me sharing my story. But Spirit right now is kind of reminding me about things to share right now in that sense. So yeah, no, not now. No, not now for you. This is all about me, Tara. I'm sharing my story. So that was in January of last year. And then Keith and I went to Thailand. We went to Thailand, we went to Bali for a month, and I got home and I was just like, okay, oh my God, like I quit my job and this is kind of what I'm doing, but I don't even really know, all that stuff. And again, I just like leaned in and I just trusted, and all of the things that I'm able to do started getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So with my readings, I know, isn't that cool? With my readings, I started being able to have more visions behind my closed eyes. I started being able to physically feel things in my body. Like spirit would show me specific things, feelings in my body that my client was feeling. So if someone was having anxiety and having a hard time sharing their truth, I would feel tightness in my throat. If there was stuff around heart and trouble with love, I would feel that here. All kinds of things with that. In the head, I would feel swirling thoughts or tightness or whatever. And but for the most part, like when I channel, when I do my readings, when I connect, it's like words that like come into my mind and like out my mouth at the same time. A downward rain spout is really the best way that I can describe how I do what I do. And because of that, I don't remember most of what I say because it doesn't like lock into my mind. And so yeah. And when I say that I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, I really, really mean that. And it's not like I read, there was a book, like I read half of a book that was called How to Read the Akashic Records, or How to Read Your Akashic Records, and that kind of helped give me like a foundation to kind of do what I was doing. But then I realized that when I thought that I was doing Akashic Records readings, sometimes I was dipping into the records, but a lot of the time I was just connecting with spirit groups. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm doing spirit group readings. Okay, that's a thing. It's not like I like typed into Google how to do it and what to call it. I just like leaned in and trusted and just was like, I'll just do this thing and it feels right. And even though I don't have a name or a title and I can't make sense of all of it, this is just what I'm gonna do. And it was like, again, like I just trusted all of the things that made no sense. And I just jumped in. Like every day I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And there was a lot of fear around it because, I mean, I live in like a really small city in southern Manitoba, Canada, and I live in the Bible Belt. There's a lot of Christian religious people around here, and so a lot of the ideas around what I do is that it's bad and it's evil and I'm crazy and all of that stuff. And so it was really scary for me to just talk about it, but I was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to just be me because I spent so long like being afraid to be who I am. And so thank you, Lindsay. I'm so glad that you have encouraged me to share this story. And so some of the things that I've discovered that I can do along the way, and again, a lot of this has just been through feeling and intuition. So a question I get asked a lot is, do I connect with dead people? Can I talk to dead people? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. But it's not like, it's not like the movie The Sixth Sense, where there's just dead people walking around me all the time that I see and that I know that they're there. That's not what I experience. But I've had, family members come to me that are for me. I've had family members come to me that are for someone else. I've had a lot of experiences just with death in different kinds of ways. One really cool thing that I did, again, don't know anything about this, I actually helped someone cross over. I helped someone cross over to the other side that had actually kind of been stuck in that in-between stage, kind of not knowing that they had passed for, I think, 3.5 years. And that's a whole nother story that I would love to tell one day. I'll ask the family if I can, have permission to like really share it with kind of all of the details, because again, it's one of those things that, and this person came to me and I did not even know their family. So imagine the messages that I had to send to these members of this person's family being like, so you don't know me, but this is what's happening. Anyway, so that's something that I can do. I can connect to people's energy. I can send them love. I can feel what's going on for them and help calm their mind, calm their breathing. I have in the past connected. Yeah, seriously, it was so weird, but I just did it anyway because I knew that I was supposed to. I had a friend of mine whose dad was in the hospital this year, and they had no idea what was wrong with him. He was really, really sick. They were worried that he was going to, that they were going to lose him, that he was going to pass away. And I had just messaged her and said, like, I'm sending love to, to your family and healing. And I just connected, and there was something about the energy. His spine was lighting up. And I said, I don't know what this means. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about being a medical person. I don't even know what half of the body parts are called. I don't even know what 4 of the body parts are called. But I was like, there's something about the spine that's lighting up. And so like half an hour later, she text messaged me and she said, holy fuck, it's meningitis. And I was like, what's that? I had to Google it. And apparently it has something to do with inflammation of the spine or fluid of the spine or something like that. And I was just like, oh my God, and so that's something that I can do. And like, I guess you could kind of call that Reiki, but I haven't taken any classes or any courses. I don't know all the terms. I go off of what I feel, and that's what I do. I know, it's so wild. Like, trust me, even though I'm like living in this life, I am constantly like, what is happening here? This is crazy. And so, I'll look at Bo just like wanted to get up in this action. And so, that's another thing that I do. This is like, I know, right? Like medical medium craziness. So another really cool thing that I do is I dream travel. And so another thing that can be called is astral projection. And when I first realized that I could do this, the reason I realized that I could do this is because what was happening was I was having dreams about people in my life. And then I would just like feel like I needed to message them. And I would be like, what's happening? Like, what's going on? Is everything okay? And whatever the symbolism of what was going on with them in my dream was completely aligned with what was going on in their real life. And I was like, okay, weird. And then I was like, okay, like, I just be knowing things. About people. Cool. And then I started having people messaging me that were saying, Steph, you were in my dream last night and you were giving me guidance, or you were giving me advice, or you gave me a crystal and told me how to use it, or we were talking about blah, 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 blah. And I was like, this is a lot of people telling me that I'm coming to them in my dreams. And then I started having things where their dream and my dream were lining up. And I was like, what is this? And so I messaged my friend Carla about it, and she was like, oh yeah, like that's astral projection. And I was like, well, what the fuck is that? Again, going over to the Google, because I don't know anything. Going over to the Google, and a lot of the stuff on Google talks about how astral projection can be something that like can be dangerous if your soul is kind of like, so what's happening is my physical body is sleeping and my soul is like going off on adventures. And so a lot of the stuff about it is like that it can be really scary because you might end up somewhere that you're not meant to go, or your soul could get stuck somewhere. There's all of these kind of theories and things around it. And so I was like, oh my God, that's scary. I don't know what's happening. And so what I did was I would sleep with a black tourmaline at my feet, because I was like, okay, black tourmaline is going to keep me grounded. It's going to keep me here. until I figure out what's happening. And so then I had an appointment with my healer, Laura, and I asked her about it, and she checked in, and she's like, no, she's like, you're good. She's like, you have been doing this for so long. Your soul knows what you're doing, where to take you, where you're supposed to go. Everything's okay. But she did tell me that, like, I really can have control over what I'm doing or where I'm going or that kind of thing. And so keep in mind, I am an old as fuck soul. I've been the lifetimes, the knowing number of lifetimes that I know that I've had that we've been able to access is like over 400. So not my first rodeo here, which is also why I've earned the right to have these gifts. So once I realized, okay, I can do this. This is what's okay. This is where I go. This is what I do. I started noticing in my dreams that I remember when people were there and what I was sharing them and how I was helping them. And so what my soul does is it goes around collecting information. It goes around learning. It goes around healing. It also goes to other people that need help and need guidance from me. And so I dream very vividly. I remember my dreams. And sometimes I will have nights where I will, I'll kind of like wake up a lot just for like a second. And I know that what's happening there is it's my soul kind of coming back into my body, like, and then, you know, going off on another adventure. And so sometimes when I'm like, I need to sleep, like I just really need to like zonk out tonight, I will tell my spirit group, like, listen guys, can we just like stay in the body tonight? Like, unless there's somewhere really important that we need to go, can we just like stay put? Can we just stay here? That would be great. Thank you. And that's, you know, there's another cool thing that I do. And I've actually realized that this is something that my grandpa does. My grandpa does this as well. Which is really, really cool. Because of course you wonder, like, where the fuck did this come from? So my grandpa does it too, which is so cute. So I saw a message earlier up, I think from Amanda, that asked if my parents were supported. So, yeah, right. Yeah. Thanks. I need to go to sleep. So if my parents were supportive, and I am so grateful and so blessed that my family is so supportive of me. And even though they're literally like, what are you saying? This is so crazy. They're also still like hanging on every word. Like they're curious about it. And a big part of that is because, hey Lisa, a big part of that is because, I mean, my mom is like leaning into some of her knowings and some of her gifts. And my mom kind of has some of the same stuff as me, where, she just has intuition about things. And she's, you know, now that I've shared a lot more about my own self, she's like learning to trust hers a lot more. And same thing with my sister. Like, if any of you guys watching this know my sister in real life, like, girlfriend is such a healer, but in a totally different way than I am. But like, she is such a like nurturing, giving, like she does massage therapy, and she is just like healing people in ways that she doesn't even know that she's healing people. But now I will say, yes, like my mom was very supportive. My sister, my grandparents have always, like, no matter what I do, they would support me. And so I've been really blessed for that. But I mean, have I come up against resistance in other facets of my family? Yes. And for you guys that like follow me on the regular here on Instagram, you know, like, Keith and I are like total opposites, and he's just such a Keith. And even though he doesn't like totally get and understand what I do, he supports anything and everything that I do. And him and I have been together at this point for over 13 years. And so again, there have been so many times where I have just felt something or known something and been like, just trust me, this is all going to work out. And it's proven itself over and over and over and over. So even when I come at him with something that sounds completely ridiculous that I want to do or that I think we should do or an idea that I have about something, he'll be like, you're insane, but also, okay. Because he just knows, right? Because he just knows. Yeah, he's such a Keith. So I've been really grateful for that, even though sometimes like the things that I have told him, like when I told him about helping that person cross over to the other side, we were driving in the car and he just literally like side eyes me and he's like, I really fucking hope that you don't tell that to other people. And I was like, why? And he's like, you sound insane right now. And I was like, just like laughing about it. But I get it. But there is some resistance on not my side of the family. But that's okay. That's okay. And of course that's caused, some tension and some things, but that's not on me, I've had to realize that it's not, if I'm like being who I am and being authentic to myself and just like doing what I know I'm meant to do, well, if someone doesn't like that, that's their fucking problem. It's not my problem, because I know that what I'm sharing is coming from a space of love and coming from my heart. And I also know that I'm here to be of service to spirit. And I also know that there are meant to be people in this world that don't get it and that don't understand, because like we're all meant to be here, right? We're all meant to be here. So if you guys have any questions, like please hit them in the comments, because I get like really squirrely and I'm like, I'm trying to think like, what are some things that I know that I do now? I know. So when I think back to being a kid, being younger, I would always like open my eyes when I was trying to go to bed and like see things in my room. Like I would see someone standing and then I would be like, no, nobody's there. And then I would like literally refuse to open my eyes because I refused to like see it again. Or I would see like a shadow, or I would like close my eyes and like in my mind I would feel that there was an energy there, and it freaked the fuck out of me, obviously because I was young, and also because like everything that we see in like on TV and in movies and in entertainment is like telling us that this is scary and we need to be afraid. And so when I look back on things, I realize how I was sensing energy and feeling things and all of that my whole entire life, for my whole life. And like picking up on energy and it's really interesting now, because I've always, being a hairstylist, you're talking, you're sharing, you're giving advice, whether it's about hair or like people sit in my chair and they tell me like their deepest, darkest secrets that they've literally never told anyone else. And so I realized through, when I go back to some of that, it was like information and things were coming to me then, even when I didn't realize it. And now, at this point, I'm like, what are my own thoughts and what are thoughts that are being dropped to me? Which, I laugh about, but I can tell the difference most of the time about what's kind of being dropped to me from spirit, whether it's an idea, whether it's I'm having a conversation with someone and I take that breath and I go and just see if there's anything coming down for me from them. And what's so great is that when I connect to spirit and something comes from them, it's truth. It's truth. I know it to be true because spirit is going to protect me. They don't allow me to share anything that's hurtful or harmful or detrimental. So if spirit's saying, ask them this, or say this or share this with them, even if, because sometimes when I do readings, I'm like, oh my God, you want me to say that? That feels like such a call out. Like that's the conversation I'll have in my head. And they'll be like, yeah, it's okay, you can say it. And I'm like, okay. Because sometimes like the things they have me say is like legit a call out on someone. But Spirit knows that they're okay to hear it and that it's going to be well received. So, yeah, it actually takes a lot of conscious effort for me to stay present on earth, because it's so easy for me to like float up there and just like see what's going on. How did I fully start to believe in myself with my intuition? This is such a hard question for me to answer, because my answer is like, I just did. And I know that that's like literally not helpful at all. But I have always trusted myself, because it's always proven me right. And when I say proven me right, I mean, if I listen to my intuition, it's always proven me right. But if I didn't listen to my intuition and everything kind of fucked up or whatever, it still proved me right, because it still proved to me, oh, if I would have listened, this wouldn't have happened. And so, Brittany, something that you can do is just like allow yourself to like look back on all of the times where you did feel your intuition and you trust it and things worked out, or when you felt those intuitive hits, don't do this, don't go here, maybe this isn't a good idea, and you did it anyways, and then stuff kind of got messy or yucky. Because that's still your intuition. Just because you didn't listen to it, it's still evidence that it's there for you to trust. I'm just trying to think, like, honestly, there are so many things happening. Oh, I know. Something that people say to me all the time. Oh, is that like a Star Trek thing I just did? I don't know why I did that. I don't even know anything about Star Trek. Okay, so now that I'm getting more comfortable with like when I meet people that don't know me and they're like, what do you do? And I'm just like, well, I'm an intuitive psychic. And people's like first reaction, and this used to happen to me when I was a hairstylist, when I would tell people I'm a hairstylist, they would either apologize for how their hair looks or ask for advice on their hair. And so with telling people I'm a psychic, it freaks people the fuck out, because they automatically assume, oh my God, this bitch knows everything about me. Like, she can read my mind. She's up in my head. She knows all of my things. She knows exactly what I'm thinking. She can read my energy. She knows that time that I stole a candy from the store when I was 5 years old. Like, that's what people think, and they get like really freaked out. So here's the thing. First of all, there are people out there that exist that can read minds, because I know people that can do that. I don't have that ability in that way, but if I were to walk around and every person that I came in contact with, I allowed myself to be completely open to like see things about them and hear things about them and know things about them and all of that stuff, I would be dead. Like, I would be so exhausted that I would not even be able to function. And so when I'm just like walking around living my life as a quote unquote normal person, I'm not just like looking into everybody's energy to know all their darkest secrets. Like, that's like literally not anything I have any interest in doing. However, when I'm actually like engaged in a conversation with someone and I'm present and I'm here and I'm speaking with someone just about life, about things, if you know me at all, I don't do surface level conversation. If I'm having a conversation with you, we're not talking about the fucking weather. We're talking about real things. And so, which makes me wonder, like, how was I a hairstylist for 12 years? Because you talk about the weather with everyone. But, so if I'm having like a deep conversation with someone, things start coming to me. And sometimes they come in the form of feeling. Sometimes they come in the form of knowing. Sometimes I will be shown things. But I know if you love yourself, from almost the moment that I interact with you. I know if you love yourself. I know how you feel about yourself, because I work a lot with heart energy, with that love energy. When I speak with people, I'm able, when they're saying this, hold on, I'll do that. When they're saying this, I'm able to see what's actually going on here. And sometimes it's just a knowing, sometimes I'm shown things, but that only comes to me, and I only like turn that on if I want to or if I feel called to. And even still, when I receive those things, that doesn't mean I share them. I mean, if I feel, and it's so easy because I just check in. Like I just check in with spirit and I go, am I supposed to tell them this or not? And sometimes it's a yes, and sometimes it's a no. And I just trust whatever that is. And like, it's funny, like even stuff with my husband, because I tell him all the time, there are things about you that I know about you that you don't even know about yourself. And he's like, well, why don't you tell me? And I'm like, because like, if you're not ready to receive them, it doesn't matter that I know them. Like if you're not ready, you know, some of his shadows and things that need to be healed, and some of like, I'm able to like look back and see, okay, the reason that you have this behavior, or the reason that you kind of like are the way you are, is because of this thing that happened way back here. Well, if he's not ready for me if he's not ready to look at that thing, to like heal it, to like not have, you know, then it doesn't matter if I know what it is. And so I tell him like, if you're not ready to hear it, I'm not going to share it with you. And I just check in. And then, of course, sometimes like I get in the way of that. And I'm like, let me tell you all the reasons why you're fucked up because I know. And so then, of course, you know, that makes it challenging sometimes for me to like remove my own like ego and like, I know, you know, things. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know everything. I only know what I'm meant to know. I'm only shown what I'm meant to be shown. And that could be for myself. That could be like, this is information that I'm meant to know so that I can help or do or even just understand. And sometimes I'm given information about something because I am meant to share it. And if it's because like, sometimes people will be like, oh, like, can't you read my mind? Like, didn't you know that? I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, I only know what I meant to know. And sometimes there are like big, important things that like, for whatever reason, I wasn't meant to be knowing about it. And there are, you know, like one of our friends that lives in our bay here, his house, you know, he thought his house sold like a couple months ago. And Keith came home and was like, yeah, Jim's house sold. And just in my head, I was like, his house isn't sold. He's not moving anywhere. But I never said anything because sometimes I just don't know. Like, I'm like, oh, is that just me thinking that? And then it all didn't work out and it all fell through. And then everything worked out perfectly for him to get a job at home and put his daughter in in kindergarten, and everything was perfect. And at his birthday, I said to him, I was like, Jim, did Keith tell you like that I knew that you weren't moving anywhere? He's like, no. He's like, would have been nice to know. He's like, I was so stressed out. I wish you would have told me. And I was like, well, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know if that was something that was supposed to be shared, but I was like, I knew that you weren't moving anywhere. And so that's just kind of the things that happen to me. That's just the things that happen to me in my day, in my life. And sometimes I know things, and sometimes I don't know things, and sometimes I have feelings about things, and sometimes I don't. And I'm just like walking around living my life like one moment at a time. And I guess like that's my story. And so for anyone that's watching, like, do you guys have any questions, or is there something that I talked about that you're like, ooh, I want to know more about this? And that's even, I'll kind of, you know, while I'm waiting to see if you guys have any questions, I'll just roll into what I do now. Something that I've been doing for the last 3 months is life coaching. And that was something that I was kind of getting the hit or the download to start life coaching. And I literally was like, well, I don't know, like, what the fuck would that look like? And of course, like, how am I qualified to coach anyone's life? I'm just like flailing around with my like messy table in the background, and in the hallway, there's just like laundry coming out of my dryer onto the floor. Like, who am I to coach people's lives, right? And so, Spirit showed me in a reading what it would look like for me to do that life coaching. And so, again, I just trusted, okay, Spirit wants me to life coach. Well, I'm just going to launch it. And it booked up within an hour. I opened up 3 more spots. November had 5 girls. December had 6 girls. I'm going to be opening up again for January. I'm going to be doing one-on-one coaching and group coaching, because those are both things that I'm feeling called to do. And so like big stuff happens. And so what I do with that is I am a rebirth doula. That's kind of like my title. And so if you've heard of a birth doula who helps facilitate, the birth of a child into the world and helps with the mama stuff. And then there are also death doulas, which I didn't know until like a year ago. There are death doulas that help people that have, chronic illness, to help facilitate and help them as they go through that process. And then there's me. I am a rebirth doula. And this, like, if you Google it, nobody's gonna pop up. It's just me. I think it's just me. And so what I do is I help, my clients figure out what is keeping them stuck. What is keeping you stuck? What is holding you back? What it is, why it's there and where it came from, and then what you need to do to look at that, to see that, and to heal that, so you can let it go, so you can lay it to rest, so you can let that die and bury it, so that you can then step into your rebirth, be more in alignment with your path, like be where you're supposed to be, because whatever this thing is keeping you stuck. And it could be a thought process, it could be a behavior or a habit, it could be like a story that you tell yourself, it could also be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be like a geographical location that you live in. Like whatever the thing is that's holding you back in your life, I'll fucking help you figure it out. Trust me, I'll do it. So, again, that's one of the things that I didn't know I was going to be doing. I just got told that's what I was supposed to be doing by Spirit. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it. Okay, Lindsay's asking about energy. What specifically do you want to know about energy? Because that is a large topic. And there are so many ways I could go with it. Is it like protecting your energy, feeling energy? What do you want to know specifically about energy? Because there are so many things. I'm actually working with my own intuitive energy coach right now, and she works with the energy that we carry in our bones, which is like so fucking fascinating. And again, I signed on to work with her as a client, and I think like what I'm paying her is like almost $1,000. And just like intuitively, I knew that I was supposed to work with her, and I didn't even know like really what she did. I just knew that I was supposed to work with her. So again, that was intuition leading me. So feeling energy. Okay. So, I mean, I need to be specific so that I can answer your question properly. Do you want to know about like how to know what you're feeling? Do you want to know, how to not feel so much? Get a little more specific with me. Anxiety versus intuition. Ugh, Amanda, this is such a topic. Okay, I have done workshops on this. Did you be, those aren't words. I was gonna say, did you be at one of my online versions of my anxiety and intuition workshop? Because that is such, again, a big topic. I have a whole workshop that I've done on that, you can like purchase, like you can, it's something that I recorded when I did the actual workshop, but you can purchase it and work through all of it. So, but the short form of that is anxiety has a fear voice and intuition has a love voice. No, you asked about it, but you didn't go, okay, message me after this, because I will 100% forget, but message me after this and I'll send you the links for it so that you can purchase it. How do I take care of myself? What are my practices to help me get clear and refuel? Oh, I do so much self-care, but it looks different all the time. But some of my pillars, I always make sure that I get enough sleep. I drink water. I do my best to fuel my body with nourishing foods. I mean, sometimes that's like chocolate and tacos, but like most of the time, do my best to fuel with foods. But a lot of it is really checking in with myself all the time. What am I feeling? What is my energy like? Is my physical body tired? Is my mental body tired? Is my spirit body tired? Really checking in with myself. But I make sure that I get sleep. I make sure that I do my self-care. So for me, self-care, like my non-negotiables are, I do gratitude. I just like breathe. Like I breathe into my belly, even if it's only like 3 breaths a day. I make a solid effort to get outside almost every day. It doesn't always happen because it's fucking cold here right now, but get outside, even if it's just for 10 minutes. You guys know, I dance like a silly Billy every day. Sometimes self-care for me means like I have a shower and then I lay in my bed and read my book. Sometimes self-care is Netflix. Sometimes self-care is laughing. But I'm really conscious. And here's probably the biggest thing that I do for self-care. I don't say yes to anything that I don't want to do. Not a single fucking thing. Not one thing. If I check in with myself and a friend's like, want to get together or want to do this or should I do this? Or even if someone will ask me like, do you want to come and, do an event? I check in. And if it's not a yes, it is a no thank you. It is a no thank you. And that's a big part of it because when, no, it's okay, Lindsay, don't be sorry. Just if you can like elaborate a little bit more, then I can answer it more directly. And I didn't realize how much of a superpower that was until I started doing this kind of work, when I realized people were like, well, how do I say no? And again, I was like, you just fucking say no. You just say no. But that's not easy for everyone, and it just is for me. And so again, sometimes when things come easily to me, I forget that they just because something comes easily to me doesn't mean that that's the norm. And in fact, I'm kind of the oddball for being able to say no. But that's a really, really big thing, because when you are saying yes to someone else that doesn't feel aligned for you, you're saying no to yourself. And that is an energy taker. But when you are saying yes to the things that feel like a yes and saying no thank you to the things that are a no, that is like recharging and giving you energy. And I also really work with the cycle of my period. So, and again, that's a whole nother thing, but I rest for the first 3 days of my period. I let myself rest, like my physical body. I don't do workouts. I will like maybe go for a walk, but I'll really let my body rest. And then I won't be super social usually during that time, because just energetically, your body doesn't want to be social then. But then when I come out of that, because I've rested, I have energy to do the things, all of that stuff. And then of course, when we're in our, what I call communicative phase, which is when we ovulate, that's when like our energy calls for us to be social, because like, right, we're fertile, or we have all of those hormones going. So I really work with that. So if I'm going to plan events, if I'm going to like do lots of social outings, I will plan it during that time. And if it's not during that time, when I know that I'm like going to want to like be home more or have more time by myself, I won't plan or organize. I'll kind of like do it on the fly if it feels right. Yes, you're welcome. Do you mean like, does my period fuck me up? Maybe elaborate on that a little bit better. Does it fuck me up? Elaborate on that so that I can properly answer that question. So anyways, I guess like that's my story. That's my story in like the best way that I can tell it with all of its facets and all of its things, and there's 100 million little bits and pieces that are left out that I sometimes don't share with anyone, or that I don't even realize are things, or that like is just like common sense or common nature to me, that I don't even like remember anymore that it's like a big deal. I know my girlfriend Jackie asked me a couple weeks ago, she said, so like, have anything like really cool or like really crazy or like neat connections or things happen? And I was like, yeah, like every day. Like every day. So like I don't even know what to tell you, because it's just kind of my normal now. So okay, so like emotionally, mentally, and physically. If I'm not keeping in alignment with what my body wants of me, what my mind wants of me, and what spirit wants of me, oh yeah, it fucks me up big. I'll be exhausted, I'll have cramps, I'll be in a lot of pain, all of that stuff. But if I like lean into like resting when my body's asking me to rest, if I do the things when my body's asking me to do the things, if I, cancel plans that I made and then now I don't have the energy for, then I'm good. Like then I'm good. But if I'm doing things when my intuition's saying, don't do this, you need to rest, or this isn't alignment for you, then I do. Like I get really, really messed up. How did I know that I had the gift of energy? I have always felt I can feel others' emotions. Oh, well, how did I know? Well, again, just kind of what I was saying at the very beginning, and I don't think you were quite on there yet, but I just started listening to like podcasts and kind of like what you're doing right now is listening to my story, and I started finding familiar bits of myself in other people. And I was like, oh, like I can do that. And so if you feel like you can feel others, like then you can. Like that's your confirmation right there, because people that can't don't think about those things, People that are like living in the 3D world and are black and white and only see the world that's right in front of them, they don't ever wonder, I wonder if I'm an empath. I wonder if I can feel others' energy. They don't have those conversations with themselves. So, you already know. And so what I always tell people to do is that if there's something that you're curious about, like if there's a piece of my story that you heard and you're like, ooh, like I connect to that, lean into that and look up, like Google stuff about that, or find people on Instagram that talk about that or share about that, or, even just like hit me in the DMs, like anything but dick pics. I don't want those, but other than that, hit me in the DMs. And, if you feel that you have the gift of healing, like that's already your answer. You do. So you are so welcome, Lindsay. So there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for being on here and for listening to this live, and anyone that's watching the replay, anyone that's watching the recording. I'm really grateful to finally be sitting here sharing this with you guys. And if there are any questions that you have after watching this, you want to ask me questions about what I experienced, or if there's something that I didn't quite answer properly. Hey, Derek, if there's something that you want to know more about my experience with, or you've had something similar happen and you're like, oh my God, that happens to me. Just message me, like just shoot me a message and we can chat. Or if it's something that I don't know a lot about, I will do my best to like direct you in the right direction to kind of help you with that. And if you, again, any questions, hit me. If you're curious about my coaching, I'll be offering that up again, a new session, I guess you could call it, in January. And so, like that is a teeny little baby bitty piece of the best way that I can tell you my story about like how I'm suddenly living my life as a psychic. So there it is. There it is for you guys. The replay, like it'll be here for 24 hours. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope you guys all have the most amazing, wonderful day. Mwah, mwah, mwah.